Residents stranded at the river, whose bridge was swept away by the floods. On Labor Day, River Nyamwamba in Kasese District burst its banks following hours of heavy rains, flooding Kilembe Mines offices and nearby communities. So far, 7 people have been reported dead and property worth millions destroyed. At about 2 p.m., we heard a loud noise outside. Looking through the window, I saw people running out of their houses into the rains. Suddenly, a huge volume of water gushed into our houses. We jumped in shock and confusion. Everyone, children, women, the elderly, were fleeing for their dear lives. The road had become a river. The milky brown waters were moving at a terrific speed, sweeping everything in their way, including vehicles and road banks. Houses crumbled as the waters rose with very passing minute. I saw 2 cars, a Mark II and a RAV4, floating down the river. By 4 p.m., the rain had stopped, but the water level kept rising. People were in frenzy trying to save their belongings. Many of us stood on high ground, confused at the destruction. As the flood ate away the roadside, my brother's shop was suddenly in the harm's way. People shouted at him to get out, but by the time he decided to run to safety, it was too late. I saw him being swept away by the waters. I wanted to jump to save him, but I knew it would be suicidal. My last image was of him waving his hand for help, after which he sank and disappeared. With the help of other residents, we later located his body about Kilembe, about a kilometer away. Mourners who covers at our home for a vigil could not stay because they feared the water levels would rise again. They fled to Kasese, about 10 kilometers away, leaving us with the body. Floods also tore through Kilembe Hospital. Workers was told not to report for work as the hospital had been closed until further notice. But still, I consider myself lucky because more than half of my neighbors' houses have been reduced to rubbish.
Early this month, the raging water enhanced by large stones is what shocked many at around midday. At the area, it woke up Mulwahali Yusuf, who was taking a nap at the time on Labor Day. As he clung to the tree, there was a thin line between his life and death.
I was just praying to God so that I could get away, means of how I could go away from the water.
Yusuf first helped his wife, who is 7 months pregnant, to navigate through the waters, and then went back to pick the documents of his daughter, who is in senior 6.
Water came in, then I couldn't go back, I couldn't cross because the water was too much. Then I decided to climb there on the roof of the house. On the roof, I was just seeing houses breaking, bursting, being swept away with all the commodities inside.
As Yusuf was hanging on the roof of his house, he thought he was safe. But in 10 minutes, the raging waters swept the entire house, brought him this far, and at that moment, he thought it was time for him to meet his death.
The first time I climbed the tree, I thanked the Lord to have moved me from the roof of the house to the tree. I know it was God's plan to make me come here in this tree.
Like other residents, Yusuf and his wife sought refuge at Kilembe Mines. Word had already spread fast about his ordeal. Now, Yusuf finds it hard to climb the same tree, where he sought refuge for more than 3 hours, waiting for the waters to subside.
So we threw a stone, and then the stone brought this small rope into the tree, and then he pulled it himself. He tied it there,
Then we sent him a huge rope, which he tied on the branch of the tree. So from there, we pulled the rope back, we tied it across the other side.
I prayed to God to give me the courage so that I could manage to cross using it.
What saved Yusuf were these two big stones less than a meter away that blocked other smaller stones from hitting the tree.
They were brought by God so that the roots are not uprooted.
The father of one had lived here for 10 years, no trace of his home. No single house has been left standing, but just huge stones and rocks.
There were some other 5 wooden houses here. You can't see them. They are all gone.
Still counting his blessings, the jobless 48-year-old artist continues to share his ordeal with all willing to listen to the story.
I learned that life was the most important thing. Things are just dancing. You can get them and they can go. But when you are still alive, you can get even more. Another lesson I learned, at least everybody should plant trees around his home because they can save life.
His harrowing experience has changed his life, giving him renewed energy as he waits the arrival of their baby this June.
The child may call him or her a miracle, or another name, or suggest a name.
Sudil Biarhanga, NTV.
At least 8 people have been confirmed dead in the ongoing flash floods that have left many stranded in Kasese District. The disaster started last week when River Nyamwamba and River Mubuku broke their banks following a heavy downpour. State Minister for Relief and Disaster Preparedness Musa Icheru confirmed the deaths.
The 6 bodies have been fortunately retrieved now. At least it is unfortunate that we lost them, but we have been able to retrieve it from the running waters and have been given befitting burial. 1 of a child and 5 adults.
The other 2 were children who passed on while being relocated from Chilembe Hospital to a safer site for medical attention. The number of those severely affected and displaced is increasing, currently standing at 7,000 according to the ministry, although the Uganda Red Cross estimates the figure at 10,000 people. Government is also seeking to immediately establish a camp once a safe place has been surveyed and identified.
It is true that from our reading now, as I talk to the country, we are considering establishing a camp. What we have done is to temporarily put all the victims of the upper Kilembe Valley, we are putting them in Kasese Primary School. But I want to say this is very temporal.
About 810 people are estimated to be at Kasese Primary School, where they are receiving relief from government and other partners.
So I want the country to know, when you see Red Cross teams giving kaonga, giving beans, giving blankets to our mothers who are traumatized, it is not that the government
As you drive to Kilembe mines, the roads which were cut off yesterday are now clear.
Yet the Uganda Red Cross is worried about a possible outbreak of a waterborne disease in the area.
Which was partially washed away.
That means
On
the
arrival
water
at Kilembe mines, this is what welcomes you. Crushed houses and debris floating on the now receding waters. Over 1,500 people were displaced by the floods, but there are reports of scores still missing.
We are asking all people who have been affected to have a registration, and our technical staff is working tooth and nail to have all this done, so that by the end of around 2 days we have all the data of the people who have been affected. We are receiving information as we are doing registration that for any who has lost a person, we need these reports.
Now clearly deserted, the only sound that can be heard is gushing water from the mountains. survivors of the first May disaster that engulfed the area are now picking pieces.
The neighbor called us, Asimwe, called us that you people, you come and see. The water is invading us. There is a lot of water which has come to Teacher Allen's house. So we rushed there. To reach there, we saw a lot of water coming. There is no way how I can explain that water.
These collapsing homes have endured the conditions in the area since the colonial times.
Other people thought that maybe those shops were built in bricks, they could not go.
There are still gallons of water flowing down the slopes of Mount Rwenzori, pouring into River Nyamwamba that cuts through Kilembe mine areas. The water, as you can see, is fast moving and still raging. And there are fears that if the rains do not stop pouring, so many lives in this area remain at risk.
Just a kilometer from Kilembe towards the mountains is Kanduchi Bridge, which was washed away. It served as the only access route to over 500 homes. Several people are said to be stranded there, waiting for the waters to subside.
What we are proposing is the engineering departments sit down urgently, both district and the center. We are going to send here our support from UPDF to design a way of forcing that water to go back to the original position where it was supposed to pass.
Despite the presence of the state minister and an assessment team, government has not yet established a settlement camp for the survivors.
I am seeing us going there because from meteorology, there is every indication that this mountain is going to continue being pounded by rains for the next month or two.
We mobilize the people within the communities that are in safe places to accommodate those who are already displaced.
Residents are now grappling with an acute water shortage as police continues to provide clean water, which some cannot access due to lack of access roads. As survivors try to
it's a seasonal
their
river,
future remains
and you can
uncertain.
hardly see water flowing during the dry season. But following a 2-day heavy downpour, gallons of water began flowing from Rwenzori Mountains, killing 4 people and leaving 4 others missing.
We could have been more, but many have been rescued, and I want to thank the local leaders in Kasese for quickly marshalling a team that has been able to even dive in some of the fast-moving waters.
The fast-flowing water has broken the creeks, washing away homes, a hospital, and cutting off several roads. The affected areas include Kilembe Sub-County, 3 divisions in Kasese Municipality, Boisumbu Sub-County, Karusandara Sub-County, Maliba Sub-County, Charumba Sub-County, Kilembe Mine Tunnels, and Nyakasanda Bridge on Kasese Fort Portal Road.
Relief, what are the items? Relief, we are delivering there some food because some people now have no food. We are delivering them some tarpaulins for those who don't have now where to sleep. We are delivering some blankets. We are delivering some jerrycans, and so that those we can get water from natural water sources and be able to make them drink.
Hand in hand, families are seen crossing the muddy waters as the only means to avoid being washed away by the speeding waters. There are reports that some people are still trapped in their flooded homes, especially in the hard-to-reach areas.
So the best thing to do is to always be mindful of the fact that water has to be given its way. Water must be given. This is not only for those places. It is also a challenge here in the city of Kampala.
There are reports that the raging floods displaced 1,500 people in Kasese. Today, the government dispatched 300 UPDF soldiers to help in the rescue mission. However, the meteorology department is warning that there will be continued heavy downpour in various parts of the country.
Areas in southwestern Uganda, Mount Elgon region, and the areas around Lake Victoria will continue receiving very heavy rainfall, and which will lead to the end of the season towards the end of May.
But how prepared is the government in responding to such disasters?
Partners. We have trained a few units in the UPDF. We have also trained a few people in the police who can beef up on short notice to do issues of search and rescue.
Rescue operations are ongoing. Sudil Biarhang